Hello, I'm Labris, and this is just going to be an overview tutorial of Shadow's story. Shadow is a neat category that is pretty movement based, but his symbol kit can be used in some surprisingly effective ways. Um, I'd like to post an updated resource on this because the story actually hasn't had an updated tutorial in about 7 or 8 years. So I think it's high time that we at least get a basic overview out. So what I'll be doing is I'll be talking over my current emulator PB. Um, I'll talk about playing for IGT/RTA, that kind of thing later. Um, the things I do here can be pretty much universally applied to both 360 hardware, PS3, and Xenia, which is the emulator of choice that I'm using right now. Um, but the timing methods are different between console and emulator, and most notably with pauses. And I'll cross that bridge when we get to a point where I do have to pause for a trick. So, but otherwise, this video should be pretty universalizable. Let's get to the first level, White Acropolis. So the reason I'm mash, so I'm gonna go back a little bit. You'll notice my inputs in the top right here. So you'll notice I'll be pressing A couple times. This is much easier on console because the freeze in between the loading screen and the actual when you actually gain control is much larger. But if you hold A during that freeze, you are able to jump at the very beginning of the level. This is important so that you can homing attack because your homing attack is absurdly fast and also goes very far. Now I mess up the second jump. You're supposed to jump over this ramp, but I jumped kind of into it and just kind of skid off, and that caused me to lose time. But so I'm doing jump, homing attack, jump, and I'm supposed to hold it a little here, homing attack, and then you should be go right over the ramp and onto the rest of the level. You want to take this right side path, and as you are approaching this robot, you want to stay to the left, or else you might get shot by either of the robots I just jumped over. Now, you don't have to do any of the combat here. You want to do a big full jump, and just as the lasers pass off screen, almost, you want a homing attack and keep holding forward. That'll get you right over the lasers. And you want to walk into the stash pad. I do a quick circle here because if you hold forward the entire time, you will miss this next stash pad. Um, so it's important to know that but you just want to hit the very tip of it to make sure you're as far forward as possible before speeding up. Now, Shadow's fastest form of movement is his homing attack, but that comes with a little bit of a caveat. Whenever there's an enemy or like an item capsule that you don't want to hit, it's fairly hard to avoid. But there are a couple rules to how Shadow's homing attack works. Um, the first rule is that 90 degrees to either side and farther behind him, he cannot target things that are like either like directly to his left, directly to his right, or anywhere in between that behind him. The second rule is that the closer you are to something, like front back, the less to the left or right it has to be in order to be a non-issue. So it essentially is your range, horizontal range gets narrower the closer you are to a potential target, which is very useful. So, and thirdly, his lock-on does not happen until the instant you press the A button, and it depends on what direction Shadow is facing. Right now, I am facing away from those three robots, and what I'm doing is I'm homing attacking into the hill. And notice I'm holding nothing on the stick. Right here. This ensures that I get all the speed from my homing attack, but since I run into a surface, I go into a grounded running animation. When I neutral stick, that bypasses the speed cap that it usually imposes on you while you're running. This is a really important thing whenever you see an upward slope in Shadow Story. You want to homing attack at it if you can. And of course, once you hit the ground, you neutral stick until you need to gain control again. But you want to ride that speed out for as long as possible. Another thing you can do that I just did there was I spin kicked. Spin kicking is done by pressing the X button and can extend any speed that you gain from some sort of speed cap break, whether it be a homing attack into an uphill surface or some light dashes also do this. You can extend that speed duration by spin kicking once by pressing X and holding neutral on the control stick. So let's kind of recap that little section, because that was a lot to process. So step one, I face away from these three green robots, because if I'm not looking at them, they're going to be behind me, and thus I will never lock onto them. Secondly, I homing attack into this hill to gain grounded speed, to transfer that homing attack momentum, which is much faster than your run speed, into the slope. Notice I am neutral sticking. And finally, I spin kick to extend that a bit before jumping and homing attacking again. Again, over the green robots. You don't want to deal with those. Everything you lock onto that you don't mean to costs you at least a second, depending on how out of the way it is and if you do the follow-ups or not. In general, it's just slow. Then you want to homing attack into that ramp. It's not necessarily like homing attack into an uphill slope. It just gets you there faster. Take this rainbow ring. Now this is a more advanced strat that I'm doing right now, which involves the use of a trick called M speed, which also abuses the rules in which speed caps are broken. Now normally I would take, in like a safer situation, I would take this jump panel to the left of me and take this rainbow ring as a result. But I homing attack into the hill, which leads me to the dash pad. I neutral stick spin kick once, and then I hold an angle that from a standstill would make me just walk. And I keep pressing spin kick. Now I kind of end it there because my stick magnitude is too great. Like I'm like full mass, like full magnitude right there. But before that, I have 0 magnitude here, and you see I'm not holding full upright here. I do want to hold upright and switch to up as I spin kick through those enemies. Spin kicking gives you full invulnerability for the entire duration. That's why I can do that through those enemies. Either way, you would end up here. And this is where you would do your first pause clip. Pause clipping is done by pressing A and start at the same exact frame. There are ways to tell how you messed up your pause clip, but basically you are pause buffering a homing attack. I don't think that worked. That did not work. The reason it didn't work is that I paused late. You can see that if you have sound on, grunts, or he moves a significant portion off the ground, you paused late. If Shadow doesn't move at all, you paused early. But if Shadow does not make a sound like that and just barely twitches, then you have a pause buffered homing attack, which can let you do a pause clip at the right angle. The angle here is not directly at this wall, at this door, but it's a little bit angled towards the wall. That's 2 shadows left. But it's more facing the door than the wall. Each pause clip has its own little angle. Some are more lenient than others. This one's okay. It's not terrible. But as you see, when you neutral stick as you clip, that's another thing about clipping. You always neutral stick. You go right through and you don't have to hit the switch that protects this door from being closed. Now, combat a Shadow. This is one of Shadow's big things. What you ideally want to do is what I just did there. So you want to homing attack the center guy that's closest to the door into this guy. Now it's going to look a little weird, but Shadow's homing attack follow-ups, when you keep pressing the A button, those, if the initial enemy dies to the homing attack, the follow-ups target the next enemy in Shadow's line of sight. It's going to be used for the second wave we have to deal with after this one. So what I do is I knock the frontmost enemy to the and directly behind and to the right of it. Then I want to take care of the final black and white robot, and then the red robot behind it. Actually, not behind it. And the red robot behind and to the right of it, by doing a chaos attack while staring in its general direction. And then I take care of the final one, start hitting big guy, and if he doesn't have any arms, you're going to knock him over and his core will pop out and he'll take 3 hits to kill. If he has an arm, at least one, he's going to take 6. So I got kind of bad RNG. He can either fire one or both arms at the start. See, he only fired his left arm. No, his right arm. That was supposed to attack the robot and start racking up damage there. But I wait until that second arm is off to attack the robot, because it will start firing its arms at you as soon as you enter the room, basically. Then I press left trigger to recenter the camera. This is a really cool mechanic in 06. So I'm facing basically towards the camera. When I press the left trigger, the camera will be facing in the direction Shadow is facing. Like that. Now what you want to do, there's going to be a bunch of white enemies and then a leader, which is a mechanic in this game. Some mobs have a leader where if you kill them, you kill the entire mob. So what I want to do is, instead of going straight for the leader, is I want to homing attack that rightmost one, and then this one. And then use the line of sight trick to kill the captain. And that will deal with the rest of the enemies in the room. The reason I do that is so that when this portal appears, I can just homing attack to it. There's no walking or weird homing attack spacing involved. You just kind of go in. Now, I do something for Rouge here that's called Rouge Clip. I would recommend going around to where I'm going to end up normally. This is pretty advanced. It's a run killer for sure. I don't recommend people do it, but I will make a video about it in the future. Regardless of which one you do, you should end up right here. As Rouge, you want to glide as much as possible, as it is her fastest form of movement. Climbing takes forever, and it is finicky as to whether you will or you will not jump off a wall. It's just how the game is. I can't fix that. So when you get over here, glide into the switch and switch to Shadow. Now I hold down there because I do not want to hit this checkpoint. This is for something called result skip. Result skip allows you to spawn a dialog box while you are inside the result screen, allowing you to skip it, like the one where you have your rank and then your points and then your ring bonus. You can skip that and trigger the fade out early. But there are two requirements. One, you have to switch characters. So we switched from Rouge to Shadow. That's pretty easy. Two, you cannot take a single checkpoint after you switch characters. So you have to jump around this one. Now, I attack this one from the right. Whoop. So it gets fired into the box to my left, so it explodes that second enemy. And then I use the line of sight trick to deal with the third. As long as you kill all these enemies, all three of those in particular, it's fine. The end goal of this level is to destroy 5 searchlights, like the one right in front of me. And usually you would casually go all over creation in order to destroy these searchlights, but little did they know, the missiles on this buggy have infinite range. So you can kind of use your Jeep as a sort of turret, providing your driving skills are good enough. So what I'm doing is in the buggy, you can throttle with A, and you can reverse or brake with X. So I am holding right and pressing X to back up and turn to my left to aim at the furthest searchlight. And I press the right trigger to fire the missiles. After that, I want to back up while holding right a little more, and then turn, and then move forward a bit and turn to the left. I still want to be notably slanted on the hill, or else I will not have enough tilt for the missiles to go high enough in order to hit the second searchlight. The reason I can tell these searchlights are going down is because they give 1,000 points each. So like when the first one dies, I go from 11k, 10 to 11k. And this one dies, I go from 11 to 12, and then 12 to 13. That's how you can tell you got to hit with the searchlight without necessarily seeing the searchlight down. Now you want to back up and then move forward a bit to line yourself up with that third searchlight I just took out. Now the fourth one is kind of behind this tower that's directly in front of me. You want to destroy it first before carefully lining up and shooting the missiles one last time to destroy that fourth searchlight. The fifth searchlight you actually kind of have to move for, but it's nowhere near as bad as moving casually for the first four. So what you want to do is you want to line your right side rocket up so that it's close, so that it not only is pointing at the searchlight, it's kind of as close to that right side wall, this one right here, as you can, because you want to get past this hill and hit the searchlight. Now I was a little too far right, but that's the general idea. Is you want to hit the searchlight as you approach this area. So Rouge tells you that you're going to need to use missiles here. You want to know which text boxes you use for result skip to work. If that doesn't work, Shadow says we need to get out of here quickly. And if you can't hit the thing with the missiles, you can alternatively hit the last searchlight with the buggy itself, kind of as a last resort. And then this is the tutorial guy saying you need to destroy 5 searchlights to open the door to the outside. How do I know this? A, I kind of know French, and B, I've played this game way too much. So, if you shot it from across the way and kind of landed here as it was being destroyed, no, not here. If you hit the shot here and you notice that it was destroyed, get out and wait. Stay still around this trail of rings. Because when I move forward, I trigger the we need to get out of here quickly text box. And that's kind of important for result skip. If you do trigger the we need to get out of here quickly text box, but not the one after it, like I do here, you want to also wait in place. But since I trigger both, I have to go all the way over here. And because we skipped that checkpoint earlier, it gives us controller shadow during the result screen. I don't know why. And when you go over this gap, there will be a third and final text box that you can do result skip with. This is true on every language, Japanese, English, it doesn't matter. Nothing is faster. And then, boom, you skip the result screen as soon as that mini dialog box fades away. That's why Acropolis. Now you get 1 gold medal. Now here's a gotcha. For first runs, you can save, like safety save everywhere, but to be relatively fast to reset, you want to hit continue without saving every time, which is this middle option here. No matter what, it'll be one down from your topmost option. On emulator, you can kind of sit here and make sure you're confirming the choice while splitting, because the IGT did not advance during that. But however, if you're running this on an actual 360, you need to be fairly efficient about it. But saving is technically slower than just hitting continue without saving. So kind of pick your poison. Egg Cerberus. This boss is hated, by myself included. At the very start of the fight, you want to book it towards Cerb. I notice that I get a bad pattern. So there's a couple patterns you can get. You can get him to sprint by about like say here. And by that point, you restart the fight because you're not going to catch him for a significant amount of time. You can if you are really fast, make this one where he sprints but a bit later. But then there's another one where he walks forward slowly, neither looks around or sniffs the ground. And that's the pattern you want. I think I get it in this next restart. Oh, I don't. So when Serb is running around, as far as when his health bar's full, he has a coin flip chance, 50-50, of turning around and going into another run state. The other possibility is that he stops and appears out of breath. Good boy. So what you want to do is you want the homing attack the rail from significantly behind Serb, more than you think you need to be. There's a reason I kind of back up before I choose to homing attack the rail. Because if you attack it like directly from either side, you will bounce off as if you was kind of attacked an enemy and do the little flippy thing and not actually get on the rail. Not only that, but that part of the rail can damage you. So be careful with that and try and go from directly behind Cerberus at all costs. See, during this, if he is not moving on neutral stick during this entire sequence, do not homing attack from rail to rail. The game will tell you otherwise. That's more of a Sonic instruction. This is a recycled asset. Now, when you actually have control of Cerberus, you can't just slam him directly into a wall. You have to turn significantly away from the wall and then curve back in. The Cerb will be always moving forward, but you can influence which direction he's going by holding left or right. You want to hold right for a bit, since the wall's to my left, to have enough turn radius in order to be able to slam his head into the wall. You generally want a path free of obstacles that you can may or may not lock onto, including but not limited to Rouge. She can also be a problem in this fight. Now, if he is turning to Shadow's right, to try and face forward and sprint again, you want to hold upright during the entire process. If he's turning the other way, you want to hold up left. But that's it. And I noticed I was already pretty far out as far as turning went, so I didn't have to go as far out in order to curve back in and hit the dog into the wall. Now for hits 3 and 4, there's a little safety strat you can do. You can Chaos Spear his head to temporarily stun him. And that's done by pressing X in the air. So there I hold upright. And when Serb turns around like that, he'll do it once this hit and twice on the final hit. You have a chance of being flung into the air. Just be ready to homing attack back onto the antenna in case he decides to buck you off when he turns around. Now Serb, when he has less than half health, also has an increased turning radius, so that's why I didn't need to go out at all there. But if you want to play it safe, you can go out a little bit and go back in and slam his head into the wall. No harm done. Again, I kind of jiggled. I want to slow this down a bit. See, I kind of jiggle. I notice I'm too close to the tail. I jiggled to the right to try and establish just a little distance. And then I face left because my target is to my left. And then I homing attack. And then I neutral stick here. You can hold forward, but it's risky. As he may start sprinting at any moment at that point once he's crouching down. But yeah, a neutral stick or a full forward while he's not in motion should do the trick. So turn around once, turn around twice, and boom, done. Your serve will probably not look like that at first. That's the goal. If you miss either the second or the third or the final hit, you will go. Serb will sprint off and then jump to the top of the arena in what is known as the 130 experience. He will just kind of sit there, howl, and then jump at you, guaranteeing you a free hit, but also wasting about 15 to 20 seconds of the process. So there's that. That's why spearing may or may not save your Serb fight. The dog is very volatile, very finicky. You have to get at least sort of lucky in order to do the boss fight really well. But that's not something I would worry about if you're doing first runs. First runs, just get out of Serb. Don't die. Even pick up a safety ring at the beginning if you feel so inclined, because it has a lot of ways to damage you that I couldn't quite showcase because I didn't get hit. Like, you can be very close to the antenna, and if you're not holding the right direction, you're going to get hit right before you grab the antenna, and then you die. You get into the position where you grab the antenna, and it goes beep, 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 and then Serb starts running around like you're on the antenna, but you're dead, and then you restart the fight. That one's kind of funny, but this is New City. This is just going to make use of homing attacks as the primary form of movement. Just go straight forward. Don't lock onto this box because that's why I go a little bit to the left here. Try not to run into any of the NPCs and go through the door to the forest. Now you're going to... You can have your homing attack intercepted by the shop, and then you press X to open it. Now you want to buy both the air shoes, there's that first one, and then in the blue memory chip, which is the second one. The first one allows you to light dash, which is required very, very soon. And the second one allows you to access Chaos Boost and Chaos Snap. So then you're just going to light dash here, because then you can homing attack. You can abuse these inclines a little bit. I try and M speed off of them, but pretty much the fastest forest I've seen is Nick's in his world record, and for Xbox 360, he doesn't M speed at all. Just takes the lines he takes, and you should be all right for this section of hub. When you hit this part, you want to do a full jump into a homing attack, but you're not going to have enough speed unless you spin kick to extend it, as mentioned before. And then you want a homing attack into the inclines that are present on these. And then you need to collect that capsule, which will let you access Chaos Boost. You don't want to homing attack the capsule. You just want to run into it. Immediately activate it. Homing attack the rocks. And just jump into the portal. If you homing attack the portal, you won't be able to enter the portal until you're kind of done with the flip animation, because it is also technically a target, kind of like the shop is. So jumping into it is a bit faster.